When my daughter was about 5 or 6, one of my daughter's friends had a makeover birthday party where each party attendee had their nails painted, got their hair done up, and got to have makeup put all over their face. And all of these little girls loved this party. They were glittery and shimmery and fabulous. And at the end of the party, at pickup time, the grandmother of the birthday girl gathered everyone around and said to her granddaughter, "Now remember what we talked about. Tell all your friends what's more important, what's on the outside or what's on the inside." To which the birthday girl, without missing a beat, tossed her hair and declared, "What's on the outside is most important." Not a win. And as lessons for small children go, I guess, this party really failed to impart the right message. But they had a good time nevertheless. But for us, when we turn to that same question and consider it more deeply, not just in terms of our physical appearance versus our character, but really more expansively in terms of what we believe versus what we actually do, what we choose to internalize or what we choose to externalize, the right answer might not be so clear. This issue is actually at the very heart of a lesson taught in this week's Torah portion, Korach. In this high drama portion, Moses' first cousin, this guy Korach, accuses Moses of elitism and challenges his authority. Moses retorts by suggesting a spirituality duel of sorts, charging Korach and his band to return the next morning so each party could present sacrifices to God and God would pick the winner. As it turns out, Korach's offerings are rejected and God renders a final sweeping judgment against the rebels and in favor of Moses. Of note, though, is that the Torah doesn't give much detail about conversations that go on between Moses and Korach during this dispute, but the Midrash, ancient stories that fill in Torah blanks, as it were, do offer us some behind-the-scenes uncut footage into their differing perspectives. In one Midrash, it describes how at one point, in an attempt to delegitimize Moses' Jewish knowledge, Korach asks Moses the following question. Does a house full of holy books still require a mezuzah on the door? Moses answers, yeah, of course it does. Korach laughs and cynically comments that the tiny mezuzah carries only the Shema inside of it, just a small excerpt from the Torah. But a house full of Jewish books contains the Torah and so much more. Obviously, for Korach's point of view, the spirit of the law, in this case owning a substantial Jewish library, outweighs the letter of the law, in this case affixing a mezuzah to your doorpost. But unfortunately for Korach, he misses the point entirely. Korach's calculation error occurs when he misunderstands the question as necessarily having an either-or answer. Korach believes that what is on the inside, a house full of Jewish books, outweighs what's on the outside, a house with a mezuzah on the door. Moses, however, finds value in both. He never negates the importance of a home filled with Jewish books, but he asserts that whatever the internal contents, the home and the door have to be in place. Books inside the house, mezuzah outside the house. This is the correct answer. I think in many ways, the moment we live in today is a Korach-Moses moment when it comes to how we think of what it means to be Jewish. And sadly, many people still today, when asked about their Jewish identity, tend to offer Korach's response. The latest Pew studies on Jewish identity support this reality. The percentages of people who say they feel proud to be Jewish are higher than they have ever been before. However, the percentages of people who identify outwardly as Jewish through being a part of a synagogue, Jewish charitable giving, observance of Jewish rituals, or Jewish practice of any sort, all of these are at all-time lows. People will say Judaism is something they feel in their hearts. It's something that is deeply personal. It's something that nourishes them on the inside. They're very comfortable with this language, and this is what matters to them. But here's the challenge. Our sense of Judaism may begin in our hearts, but it should not end there. Jewish faith may be personal, but it is not, nor has it ever been designed to be private. Judaism, definitionally, is made manifest in community, in deed, in tangible action in our world. There is nothing else of significance in our lives we would leave pent up in our hearts, as if the personal conviction relieves us of the responsibility to do something about it in the world. Have you ever heard somebody say, I know that my kid's dance recital is very important in my heart, so I will not be attending the recital. Or, I know that my job and my career are very important to me in my heart, so I will not be doing that big project I've been asked to do. It sounds ridiculous. Have you ever heard anyone say anything like that? But when it comes to our Judaism, when it comes to our faith, more often than not, what follows somebody saying Judaism is so important to me is the mitzvah that they are not going to do, the synagogue that they will not be attending. This to me is confusing, and I think it's where our moment in time misses the mark. Make no mistake, I'm not saying that everybody here needs to go off and be Orthodox. But I am suggesting that if we're going to say that Judaism matters to us, then what has to follow is how we make that mattering realized to ourselves and also to everybody else. Here is the truth. Judaism, regardless of denominational affiliation, at its heart is both internal and external. It's an inside and outside practice. It's a library and it's a mezuzah. Think back to our people's story. When God gave the Jewish people the commandments at Mount Sinai, God didn't offer the covenants one at a time privately with each person standing in line waiting a turn. On the contrary, everyone, the tradition says, from the richest to the poorest, from the youngest to the oldest, stood together and received it at the very same moment. Or look at Jewish prayer. It is by its very nature a communal thing. That's not to say that private prayer doesn't exist, it does. But the almost 2,000-year-old tradition of Jewish verbal prayer has always been in the context of a larger Jewish community. It's the understanding that there's power in numbers. Think about it. The whole reason we have a minyan, or a group of at least 10 people come together to pray, speaks to the power and importance of the larger external Jewish experience. At a very minimum, regardless of what you think about God, it reminds us that we are not alone. But it doesn't stop there. What about the centuries of Jewish ethical tradition that tell us not just about things that relate to the Jewish individual's experience in isolation at home, but rather that govern so much of how we engage in our world at large? We are instructed on how we should treat people who work for us, our obligations to our larger Jewish synagogue and community, no less our obligations to the world. We are commanded to deal justly with the stranger, the non-Jews in our midst, just as we are commanded to deal justly with each other. Truly, most everything in our tradition asserts the need for Judaism to be a part of who we are, inside and outside. From the myriad blessings our tradition offers us to say on every possible occasion in our outside lives, to the fact that even during Jewish observances privately in our own homes, we are obligated to open our doors to those outsiders who might want or need to join us. We live in a moment in time that elevates the solitary self over everything else. And the temptation to see that as the be-all and end-all comes along with that elevation is powerful, truly, for all of us. There is a place for the internal, There is a place for nurturing the self and protecting the self. There's a reason that airlines tell you to put that oxygen mask on you first. But why on you first? For the purpose of your being able to go and help someone else. It doesn't just say, put the oxygen mask on. Ever think about that? It's actually an incredibly pro-social idea that the airlines are inviting us into. It's true. At the end of the day, all the self-care and me time in the world won't bring us the deeper fulfillment that each and every human yearns for as a part of just being human. To attain that, the only way to attain that has always been about striving to be part of something bigger than yourself to serve a higher purpose. We have to step out of the confines of our own selves and our own comfort zones, because that serving is never privatized. Rather, it always beckons us to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, to bring more healing and wholeness, to create more justice, hope, love, and peace for ourselves, for our family, for the community, and for the world. So when it comes to that question of what matters more, the library or the mezuzah, what's on the inside or what's on the outside, the correct answer is, of course, yes. I hope that is an answer we can all embrace and elevate and demonstrate outwardly as the journeys of our lives unfold in every day as we move forward.